Hello, everyone. Now, today, what I've got here is an ERTL Thomas and Friends poster from 2003, and I recently got this on the off eBay after I found it advertised on Facebook from because I'm in the Facebook group ERTL Thomas Tank Engine and Friends, and one of the users on eBay was saying that he was selling a load of ERTL Thomas engines that were still in their original packaging, and I noticed in a photo that he had a Thomas and Friends poster from the cartoon card packaging era that was used between 2002 and 2004. So I checked on his eBay account, I found this poster, and I decided to buy it. It cost me nearly £20 to buy this, but it's going to be worth it because I wanted one of these to display in my model railway shed. But I thought I might show you what's on this poster. So it's A4 sized, and as you can see, you got the Thomas Mini World range. Now, for any of you Thomas fans who used to collect ERTL Thomas engines or still are today, the miniatures range was originally released back in the early 90s, and they did have Thomas, Edwards, James, Percy, Toby, Duck, Diesel, Bill and Ben, Bertie, Harold, Annie, Clarabelle, and the Troublesome Trucks. And then and Trevor as well. I've just seen the image of Trevor. And then after a few years, it went out of production. But although nearly all of the models were adapted into key rings, I think the only ones that weren't adapted into key rings was Bertie, Annie, Clarabelle, and the Troublesome Trucks. But the rest were. And then, of course, it did get re-released back in, I think it was at the start of 2002. And this is the only time when they actually released new miniature models in the range, as you can see, Henry and Mavis. Because you can see in the Mini World sets, you've got Mavis, Troublesome Trucks and Quarry, and then you've got Henry and Tunnel. So this was the only time when new mini models were released. That's all the Thomas Mini World sets, as it was known back in the early 2000s. But back in the 90s, it was originally called Miniatures. And then over here, you've got the train sets and accessory sets. And half of these were actually released in 2002 when the track was revamped. Because in 2002, ERTL did revamp their track system in the ERTL Thomas and Friends range. From the grey track with molded rails and sleepers to having a green grass edge with stickered rails that shows the rails and sleepers in colour, which I think looks much nicer than the original grey track that was used in 1997. I think the accessory sets and the track packs, I think they were released in 2002, but the play sets themselves, they were actually released in January 2003. And then you got the Thomas carry case there. That hexagonal one was used, I think it was used from 2002 until the start of 2004. And then, of course, the 3D Thomas carry case was used from the beginning of 2004. And the design was carried on into the take-along range when ERTL was discontinued at the end of 2004. So that's the page with all the sets on it. And as you can see here, this is the Thomas and Friends for Baby. So this is the preschool toy range that ERTL had made. And this was what they had back in the early 2000s. Not really of much interest to me, the Thomas for Baby range. It's just mainly the miniatures and the play sets and the die-cast models that are of interest to me. And then in this poster, this is the main part of the poster, showing all the die-cast models that were available in 2003. And these were the ones that were in current production. And then over here, this is the Nuka 2 Collect. Now, even though this was released in 2003, Some half of these diecast models were actually released in 2002. I'm not sure whenabouts in 2002 it was the packaging had changed and these new models were released, but I would probably guess it was in April 2002. And the City Trucks, Frank, Neil, Falcon, Brake Van, and Mrs. Hat and Mrs. Kindly, they were released in 2002, but Elizabeth, Harvey, and Salty, they were actually released in January 2003. And I know this because I saw in Damien Lemetre's Thomas magazines the exact month when these ERTL models were released. So the Newcron advertisements in the Thomas magazines are an ideal source to let you know whenabouts in a year they were released. So I know that the City Trucks, Frank, Neil, Falcon, the Brake Van, and Mrs. Hat and Mrs. Kindly, they were released in 2002. But Harvey, Salty, and Elizabeth, they said that they were new in January 2003. And if you're wondering why Scarloey, City of Truro, and Duke are here, it's because see, Scarloey and Duke, they were. I'll start off with City of Truro first, but the City of Truro, that was released in 1994, as seen in my 1994 ERTL catalogue, and Scarloey and Duke, they were originally released in 1997, and I think it must have been 2001 when they were discontinued for a few years, and then I'm trying to think when the Newcron advertisement in the Thomas magazine said that these three models were re-released, but I think it might have been in January 2003, just like what Harvey, Salty, and Elizabeth were. So this is my 2003 ERTL Thomas and Friends poster. I'll show you a few more ERTL Thomas and Friends posters. There's the October 2003 poster, is what I'm calling it, because the models that were released, all the diecast models that were released were actually released in October 2003, or you could call it the January 2004 if you wanted to, the 2004 poster, because I think all of the train sets were released in January 2004, the new ones like the Sodor Viaduct Bridge set. And then, of course, there's the July 2004 poster, which was only seen in the Thomas and Friends magazine, which Damien Lemetre had originally uploaded to YouTube. I'll just show you that. And I actually thought there was an actual A4 poster of the models that were released in, I think it was July 2004, but it turned out it was just exclusive to the Thomas magazine. But even though there were later years of the Thomas and Friends poster that shows all the diecast models, I'm still happy with my 2003 poster. And I'm going to display this in my model railway shed, because although I do have the 2004 poster, it's only a printed reproduction of it that I found on the internet, and sadly it was already sold when I came across it, but I managed to save the images. And one little feature about these Thomas posters is that you can put a tick where the tick is, which would let you know which models that you've already got. There are some quite strangely enough, there are some ERTL models here that were they're on here in the cartoon cards packaging era, but I don't remember. Like 199 Diesel, Rusty, Bluebell, Smudger. I've never seen them in the cartoon cards packaging. That was introduced in 2002. But same with Duncan and Peter Sam. But there are a number of these that I do remember in the cartoon cards packaging that was used from 2002 to 2004. And they all came with a collector card at the back of the packaging. And And yeah, that's my 2003 ERTL Thomas and Friends poster. So overall, what I think about the 2003 ERTL Thomas and Friends poster, what I like about it is it's nice and colourful, and it's got a whole load of diecast models on the poster, which I think looks really nice in its yellow background. And I love how at the bottom it still shows, what models are new to collect. And then, of course, you've got the new releases against the blue background as well. And I love how it's also displaying a few of the larger ERTL Thomas characters in the corners. And it's better than the previous ERTL Thomas and Friends posters in the previous years because it's very colourful. So what I like about it is it's nice and colourful, and it shows all the actual ERTL diecast models against the yellow background. What was probably in production at the time when this 2003 poster was released. I think they could have done on the main part of the poster, because it's designed to be because this part of the poster is designed to be displayed on the wall. I think what they could have done is they could have also displayed the ERTL sets on the poster, on the main part of the poster as well. But then again, space-wise, it wouldn't there wouldn't be enough space to display all the diecast models, so I can probably see why. But it would look so much better if these ERTL sets were in the main part of the poster as well. But overall, I do think it's a really good poster. And yeah, there's the Thomas for Baby range, that preschool range. But yeah, Thomas Mini World, that was in the 2003 poster. And then in the 2004 poster, it also shows Thomas Wooden Railway. And yeah, I still think the best part of the poster is is all the die casts in the main part of the poster that you can get. And I've got a few of these. Well, since I did my review video of all of my ERTL Thomas engines, all the diecast models that I got so far, I have recently got a couple more last year, because I've got Bertram from the Fun Farm car boot at Spalding, and I've also got the pump truck, which I got for Christmas with Old Bailey. Although that image there, although I can tell that the image in there is the prototype. I'll just pause this video whilst I show you my recent ERTL Thomas models that I've got. Right. So here we go. This is these are my latest ERTL Thomas engines that I've got since I did my review video of all the ERTL diecasts that I had back in 2021. But these are my two recent ERTL Thomas engines that I've added to my collection. I just got a few out to get to, Bertram and the pump truck. But these are my two that I've recently got. For some strange reason, ERTL had misspelt Bertram when he was released. And the same could be said for on the poster as well. And that's Old Bailey on the pump truck. And just like in the TV series, they depicted him in his correct brown jacket and hat. But for some strange reason, when ERTL had released the pump truck, they've done Old Bailey in a blue costume. Well, in a blue trousers and a blue jacket and a blue hat. And in the prototype there, the trousers on Old Bailey are, I think they're green. So yeah, that's my my ERTL Thomas and Friends poster, and also my two newest additions to my ERTL Thomas and Friends collection. And I hope you've enjoyed my video. And if you like what you've seen, give my video a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all later. Bye for now.